Welcome back to the channel. I talked about the veiling process in the previous episode, and it struck me quite forcibly when I thought about today's talk that I need to keep abreast of what is currently happening on the world stage and then elaborate on the progress towards our desired goals, that is, our ascension to the new earth. I also want to touch on where we stand in the light of the deceptions and lies that negatively polarized politicians and military leaders are spewing out with regard to their intended missions, those of total enslavement of the human race and the dominant superpowers' war rhetoric. Let me begin with the latest news of current world stage events. The war in Eastern Europe continues to dominate world news, with confirmation by the dominant superpower's military authority that it has boots on the ground in this well-known Eastern European war. And you know the two countries to which I am referring. There is also a blatant disregard by the leaders of the world's dominant superpower that there is a need to monitor the billions of dollars this one Eastern European country is receiving to aid it in its war effort against the invading force. They just don't seem to care that these funds are being misappropriated by the corrupt regime that is overseeing the invasion's defense. I move on to the spate of bank failures, which seems almost like old news. However, it could get worse in the coming months, so expect more smaller banks to suddenly declare financial problems or bankruptcy. You may remember the news of CBDC rollouts that are going to occur in the near future, and things have been rather quiet on this issue for now, but don't be fooled, it's coming. We're also seeing the cabal's distraction tactic of former President Donald Trump's arrest to cover up the lack of mainstream media reporting on all these other world peace-threatening topics. We will now look at yet another rising event, the rise of AI technology that is, however, being reported on, with ChatGPT version 4 garnering attention as a huge success story for the rollout of new helpful systems, technologies that will help the human being in the daily pursuit of life's purpose. What most people will not foresee is the effect that systems that are exclusively sequestered by an AI system will be locked into whatever controls the originators have planned for the control of the masses who will become locked into such a system. There will be no contact for those who have a genuine reason to need a human response to resolve a problem. AI does not differentiate between genuine issues and all other issues that users of a system incur. That is, if you need to explain why some issue needs to be resolved, the AI system will simply continue to overlook your complaint, and you will find that you just have to accept your fate, that of whatever it is the system allows. If a payment you have made has gone missing, there will be no one to speak to in order to resolve the problem. The system will just roll over you and your issue, locking you down with everyone else. In the good old days, when a bank monitored your transactions, there was always someone to contact, someone who could help you resolve the problem. This does not happen with an AI system. So be warned, the way we lived our lives has gone forever. There is a new governing principle for humanity. It is an impersonal, all-embracing, tyrannical system called artificial intelligence. Moving on now to another subject. There are all sorts of new coalitions that are being formed by nations that were once highly polarized toward each other. And this due to the potential of the BRICS nations floating a new currency that could put an end to the dominance of the US dollar as the economic vehicle for all world trade. Recently, we have heard that Finland, a country that shares one of the longest borders with one of the prominent superpowers, has joined NATO, a move that will no doubt have an impact on the invading forces' war psyche. I could go on with events that are currently taking place on the world stage, but for the sake of time, I'll move on to the point that needs to be made in this video. The minds of all the world inhabitants are becoming increasingly focused on one life-threatening issue. Are we on the brink of World War III? The war rhetoric is being ramped up by two of the world's superpowers, and unfortunately the world's largest and most dominant power is responsible for making sure that war is justified as an inevitable future. Why is this dominant superpower doing everything in its power to derail any positive initiatives to bring peace to the region? It's because this superpower has war in its DNA. I researched the number of wars this entity has been involved with since the beginning of the 20th century, and in addition, how many wars in the 21st century so far. Most citizens don't even know that these wars even existed, and will be surprised when the penny finally drops. You'll see a list on the insert as to what these were. Some are still ongoing, but I'll share the numbers for each century. In the 20th century, there were 32 wars. In the 21st century, 12 wars, several that are still ongoing. So in the space of 23 years of the 21st century, there have been 12 interventions in the affairs of other countries by the world's most dominant superpower. I'm going to leave the insert up so that anyone interested in statistics can take note. I do not say that these interventions are not in certain cases seen as necessary for the protection of sovereignty, but it is plain that most are for the subjugation of resources or the destabilization of a foreign government. The real problem lies in whom power has been invested through the political process. The dominant superpower's military authority is one of these recipients of power, and we know that they have a direct link to the military-industrial complex, group of industrialists that is making billions of dollars from the manufacture of new and better weapons. If you're a military-minded person, you have been given the power to commit the country's military assets to plan for a future war against the enemy. You'll make sure every effort to fulfill the requirements of your mission. If you are an industrialist that is motivated by profit, you will, in like fashion, make every effort to maximize the profits by providing the most diabolical of super weapons. Once these weapons have been invented, there will be a need to test them out. And what better circumstance than an actual war to do this? No thought is given to the consequences of such devious acts. Only the satisfaction of war on the behalf of the military-minded and the satisfaction of profit on behalf of the industrialists. One can only guess at the result all this talk of war is having on the average world citizen. Remember that the average citizen only has the mainstream news, with all its lies and deception, to determine what the future holds. I have, in many of my talks, alluded to the fact that fear is the essence of the cabal's plan to maintain a stranglehold on human affairs. We all understand the risks of a nuclear confrontation, the risk to our environment and the risk to our survival as a species. For such news to cause a fear-orientated mindset. When you're not armed with superior information, then fear is all you have. Those who have followed the alternate news providers and researched the claims that these providers are making will be in a better frame of mind to decide what is possible and what is not possible. I can share the good news that it will not be possible for the superpowers to discharge nuclear weapons apart from a dirty bomb, which will only fry the communications of whomever it is used against. The extraterrestrials have promised us this much, and we have prior knowledge of how they were able to shut down nuclear silos during the Cold War era to validate their assurance. Nothing can prevent us from fulfilling our destinies in being a major part of the solution to a new world system that will outlaw war and profiteering from the mindset of aspirant New Earth inhabitants. Bear in mind that a harvest and ascension to fourth density is imminent, and that our future destiny is a golden age of peace, harmony, and prosperity. So hold on to your seats, my dear viewers. We're all in this together. The best is yet to come. Well, that's all we have time for today. Before you go, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons. And thank you for watching my channel. And be sure to catch up with the latest material on the next viewing of Spiritually Conscious Soul 101.